Good morning. This is Denise from Counseling for Quality Living. And today I intend to give you some information, not answers, but information about a topic that came up in every session that I have had with my clients over the past week or so. And unfortunately, that topic is suicide. Now, I will preface my comments on this video by reminding everyone that I am not a psychiatrist, I am not a psychologist, nor am I a medical professional. I am a counselor. My job is to work with otherwise healthy individuals who are seeking help for the relationships in their lives, even if that is the relationship with themselves. So that is why I say, through this discussion, I will be sharing information, good best practices and things that we know about suicide. I am not in any way, shape, or form offering answers. I don't have those answers, unfortunately. First of all, we lost Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain this past week, very close together. For many of us, that came as a shock. We look at these people and their lives and their successes and the things that they have, and we wonder, or we ask ourselves, how could anything have been that bad? Especially when we do not have perhaps the financial wealth, the access to many of the finer things that these kinds of people have. And we wonder if we can muddle through day by day and make it work and persevere. Why can't they? First of all, what is suicide? Basically, suicide is an escape from pain. For many of us, we would not feel that that is an acceptable or a positive solution to end pain, but I don't think there's any way to argue the point that it is an ending, and depending on what kind of pain or what level of pain a person is experiencing, it certainly is a way out. The thing that we can affect is the thought that suicide is a solution to a problem or to problems. If we accept the belief that suicide is a solution, then we are assuming that all other solutions have failed, or that the road to change, to healing, to recovery is too high a mountain to climb. So many people that attempt or commit suicide are simply looking for a relief from pain. And they have not been able to find adequate relief and simply want a solution to the problem, which is a way out of the problem. According to the Center for Disease Control, since 1999, suicide rates have climbed over 30%. And middle-aged people have seen the highest rate of increase among those 30%. And so the next question we may ask ourselves is, what are some causes of suicide? Well, first of all, mental illness of any kind and depression would be way high up there on the list, followed by relationship problems, relationship with self, relationship with family, relationship with friends, relationships with significant others, relationships with children, relationships across the board. People that are not having their needs met in relationship with others. The next one would be financial problems. Knowing that you cannot provide for your family or yourself. Losing a job, which is your, form of income. Meeting your financial obligations. Knowing that you owe a great deal of money and don't see a way that you could ever dig your way out of that. And then lastly, of the main causes of suicide would be substance abuse. People that are abusing drugs or alcohol, or the effects of drugs and or alcohol have clouded their thinking. There are many contributing factors, we would call them, to a person's willingness to accept suicide as a solution. And one of those is the belief that we really should be happy most of the time. And nothing could be farther from the truth or harder to achieve. Accepting the belief that we really should be happy most of the time, and if we aren't, then something is wrong with us, is what I call a limiting belief. It limits our growth. It limits our ability to find contentment. It limits our view of ourself in a positive way, to always be focusing on, why aren't I happy? Other people are happy. The thing is, as we know, that the extent to which we are happy or content, I actually prefer the word content over the word happy. The extent to which we are content or happy is directly related to how well our basic needs and our quality world pictures are being met in the real world, in our life. That is going to determine the extent of our happiness. I will not take the time here to delve into the 5 basic needs: survival, love and belonging, power and achievement, freedom, fun. And I will not take the time to reiterate what our quality world pictures are and how we use them. But on my Facebook page, Counseling for Quality Living, you can find videos that I have posted on the basic needs and quality world pictures. So if you're not sure about those, I encourage you to go back and watch. But what we know is that our basic needs are internal. They are in our DNA. We're born with these 5 basic needs. But we have to meet the needs in the external world. And so if the real world is not need fulfilling, then our happiness and our level of contentment is not going to be where we want it to be. Believe it or not, of all the basic needs, the one that seems like it would be the easiest to meet would be the need for fun. But when you talk to many people who are unhappy, people that are suicidal, for instance, they have a very difficult time explaining to you how and when they meet their need for fun. The fun, for one reason or another, has kind of fallen out of their life. So that's something to think about in itself. Another indicator or consideration when we're thinking about the topic of suicide is media and social media. The media itself, TV, newspaper, whatever, and social media like Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I am on Facebook, and I have to admit that I enjoy it and have found value in it. It allows me to communicate with people in a certain way. Face-to-face is always best, but you can't do that all the time. It allows me to share information and get information from people that I do not come into contact with every day. It allows me to keep up with the lives of people that I went to high school with, college with, in my case, people that I danced with who live all over the world. We have family members on my side and my husband's side all over the United States, in Germany, in Canada. Being on social media allows me to be in contact with these people. It is a form of relationship. It may not be the best form of relationship, but we are living in the year 2018, and it is part of our lives. But the thing we have to be careful of, especially people that are suffering or in pain, is that, we all post the high times in our life on Facebook or Instagram. Let's be honest. We post all about the good times, the fun things we're doing, the great family gatherings, the good pictures of ourselves, the nice places we're traveling. For someone who is suffering, to consistently look through these Facebook posts and then say to themselves, everyone is out there living such a great life. Everyone is out there having so much fun. Everyone has so many friends and family. What do I have? And so we look at these high life posts and begin to compare our lives, or lack thereof, with what we see on Facebook. And when I speak to people who particularly mention how seeing certain posts and things affect them in a negative way, we explore turning off that button, getting off of that Facebook or that Instagram, and relieving yourself of the pressure and the comparison that comes about when we see the high life that everyone else is living. Another thing to consider when we're looking at indicators of suicide is disconnectedness. Disconnectedness. The lack of belonging, the lack of relationship, feeling alone, even when you're with a group of people, feeling alone. We were created to be herd animals, and we seek in our lives, to the extent that we want to, we seek relationship. Some people need to have hundreds of friends, and some people only need a couple of good ones. But for us to navigate this life and to feel happy and content, we must be connected. Connected in some way, shape, or form to some people who are meaningful to us. I have a little example that I want to give you that happened to me about 4 years ago. When I was taking apart my grandmother's home as she entered into an assisted living facility, there were many things that we gathered that could certainly be of use to someone, but not something that myself or my parents really felt that we needed to keep. So I opened an eBay account, and I sold many of these things on eBay and had the money from those things deposited directly into my grandmother's checking account. And I don't know how familiar you all are with eBay, but you get notifications when something has sold. The buyers have a certain amount of time to submit payment, and if payment is not submitted after a certain amount of time, you can send them notifications and reminders, and if you still aren't paid for the item, you can report that this buyer purchased but did not pay, and then of course you can relist the item if you choose to. And that very rarely happened. But there was an item that was purchased by a female, and a week went by, did not receive payment. I sent a couple of reminders. Another week went by, did not receive payment. And so I let the person know that I was going to relist the item and that I was going to mark it down as purchased but not bought from this buyer. Well, I received a message from the person about a day later. She was very honest. She said, I'm 19 years old. I wanted to buy this item as a gift for someone. I did not take into account that I did not have the money in my account to pay for it. I'm between jobs, not having much luck getting hired, so I apologize for purchasing the item from you, but as it turns out, I cannot afford to pay for it. When I read this, I first of all did not turn her in. I simply relisted the item. But I packaged it up. I put a note in it that read, I know you really wanted this item for a gift. I appreciate you being honest about the fact that you purchased it and cannot pay for it. I'm sending it to you anyway. I do not need a thank you, but pay it forward someday if you ever can. The message that I got back from this female, 19-year-old female, said this: lots of things have been going wrong in my life lately. The past year has been horrible. I lost my mother. I lost 2 jobs. I am under a lot of financial strain. And I truly was contemplating whether or not I really wanted to live. And I had made plans to end my life. But when I received this from you, I thought to myself that there is someone across the country that doesn't even know me that is willing to do something nice for me when I least deserved it. And I don't know what the future brings, but for right now, I'm going to try to hold on. I will never, ever forget that. Another thing that we need to think about and talk about for a minute is called suicide contagion, or the suicide effect. Now, we have no idea if Kate Spade's suicide and the method that she used, and Anthony Bourdain's suicide a few days later using the same method, had anything to do with one another. Chances are it did not. However, suicide contagion does not mean that suicide is contagious like a virus is contagious. But what it does mean is that when there is a great deal of publicity around a particular suicide, it can increase the risk of suicide in a similar fashion by others. We especially find this in the teen population. In 1962, Marilyn Monroe died of an apparent suicide. And in the few months that followed her death, suicides increased over 12%. After media reported on a situation in Vienna, Austria, where people were jumping in front of trains and killing themselves, we found an increase in people who were committing suicide using this same tactic. And after this, the national guidelines for how the media covers suicides changed. they implemented new guidelines. And after those guidelines were implemented by the national media, suicide rates plummeted by 81%. So we know that the contagion effect, also known as the Werther effect, is a real thing. For youth, teenagers in particular, the Werther effect, or suicide contagion, accounts for at least 5% of the suicides in this age group. We will never truly know the pain of another, but we can live our lives and live our relationships in ways that let others know that we are available, that we are present, and that they matter, and that they have worth, that they have something to contribute to their lives and the lives of others and to this world. Because everyone's death diminishes me. No man or woman is an island. So I hope that some of this information has been helpful to you, giving you a better understanding of the topic of suicide, and perhaps to be more aware of those people around you that may feel disconnected, that may need your time and your attention. Some problems are so much larger than that. People with chronic mental illness and people with chronic substance abuse and things of that nature. I certainly realize that a simple smile or a kind word may not be enough to get them to a safe place. But if we can help that one teenager who simply is focusing on the media hype, there was a Netflix series called 13 Reasons Why. If you haven't watched it, maybe you should. That really got a lot of press and discussions going around the topic of teen suicide, because it really embellished the effects of it and the thoughts of friends and family after something like that happens. But if some of this information can help you or can help one person you know, it certainly will have been worth it. And lastly, you don't need me to tell you this, but you don't have to be happy every day, every minute of every day. Don't expect it, but be grateful for it when it comes, and try to do things or bring things into your life that will increase your chances of happiness and contentment. And be authentic and be real. Have a great day.